Hey guys, I hope you're all excited for Season 12 which launches today. There's a lot of content coming and I'm keen to check out everything new, but in this video we are going to go through all the hero balance changes and see which heroes have been buffed and which heroes have been hit with a nerf hammer. But before we begin, let me tell you about a very special product that I've been using recently. Want to know my secret to next level gaming on the go? Let me introduce you to Erazer's high performing gaming laptops. Erazer is one of the leading gaming PC and laptop brands in Europe and they are now available in Australia. Providing outstanding quality and competitive pricing, Erazer caters to all gamers from beginners to experienced pros and is the go-to option if you're looking to take gaming to the next level. Erazer's laptops are easy to unbox and set up and you can start playing immediately with a simple boot up, login and play process. This gorgeous Defender P50 gaming laptop is packed full of top-of-the-line features including a 144Hz 17.3-inch Full HD screen, NVIDIA 4060 graphics card, and a 13th generation Intel Core i7 processor. The tactile gaming keyboard also comes with RGB lighting for that extra customization. Here I'm running Overwatch on max settings and the P50 keeps up amazingly well with zero lag and the game looks crystal clear on the beautiful 144Hz display. The laptop stays cool and quiet even with hours of intensive gaming, and honestly there wasn't much difference from my gaming PC except I can bring the laptop wherever I go. If you'd like to grab one of these amazing laptops for yourself and elevate your gaming experience, check out Erazer using the link in the description box and use code HOSHIZARA10 to save on your next gaming laptop today. Now back to today's video. Okay, so in the developer comments for this round of hero updates, they say that our recent patch, which adjusted all the tank heroes, saw a significant gain in interest for the role and had a positive lasting effect in queue times for damage and support as well. There are a few additional tuning changes in this update for tanks, but this patch is largely focused on adjusting many of the more mobile heroes in the damage and support roles. Mobility is very powerful and would like for there to be more of a trade-off for the flexibility that it brings, especially as we add speed boosting abilities by welcoming Juno to the game. We're moving a handful of heroes to a 225 HP maximum and in some cases increasing potency elsewhere in their kit. Okay, so based on these opening comments, it sounds like the devs are more focused on bringing back in line those characters who not only do damage but also have a high level of mobility as well. And while I do agree this was somewhat of a problem in Season 11, I was kind of hoping they'd address the imbalance in the tank role, especially given that tanks were recently all giga buffed to basically become raid bosses, and now matchmaking feels like a toss-up between who gets the better tank and who can actually counter swap. But anyway, let's see what the tank changes are. Starting off with D.Va, the maximum duration on defense matrix is reduced from 3.5 to 3 seconds. Developer comment: the increase in defense matrix availability didn't help D.Va's overall performance that much compared to the amount of frustration it is causing players on the opposing team, so we're reverting it to the previous duration. I don't know about you guys, but D.Va has been an absolute menace lately, so I'm glad that they're reverting some of the buffs to her, but I think she'll still be a really solid pick going into Season 12. Next up, the impact damage on Orisa's energy javelin has been increased from 60 to 80. Developer comment: Orisa is still underperforming, so we're increasing the impact damage of energy javelin to better reward accuracy with the ability. I'm okay with this change. I do think Orisa needs a slight buff and she's not the strongest tank in the game right now and I highly doubt that this is going to change that. And also the javelin does take some level of skill to use. Next up for Zarya, particle cannon's secondary fire minimum damage increased from 47 to 55 and secondary fire maximum damage increased from 95 to 110. Developer comment: Zarya's secondary fire didn't benefit much from the projectile size changes in Season 9 since it's mostly aimed at the ground, when increasing its damage to keep it feeling effective relative to a primary fire beam. This looks like a very solid buff to the damage on Zarya's secondary fire, so I guess this will give her a bit more presence when she's not relying on her beam when she's high charged, so I'm interested to see how this plays out. Moving on to the DPS, starting with Junkrat, the projectile size on Frag Launcher is now reduced by half after the second ricochet. Projectiles preserve slightly more velocity on ricochet. Developer comment: this is mostly a reversion back to how Junkrat's grenades used to ricochet in early Overwatch, which enables more control over the angle of the bounce and helps the weapon better control spaces with some tricky shots, but the projectile size is now reduced after a couple of bounces, so there will be fewer random feeling direct impacts near the end of the projectile's lifetime. I'm not gonna lie, I think I played Junkrat for a total of 5 minutes in my history of playing Overwatch, so I don't know how to feel about this change. I'll leave that to you guys. Echo, base health reduced from 250 to 225. Developer comment: no additional adjustments to support the reduced health pool as, like Pharah, Echo was one of the top performing damage heroes recently. I am a proud Echo hater as someone that versus those Echoes that seem to be able to 1v5 your whole team before you can even do anything, and also as someone who is forced to pocket those Echoes on the other side of the spectrum, so the less Echo players the better. So yes to this nerf. Sombra, base health reduced from 250 to 225, stealth bonus movement speed increased from 45 to 60%, and finally finally, impact damage on virus increased from 25 to 35. Developer comment, the increased movement speed while stealth will better enable Sombra to get into advantageous positions or be slightly more evasive with the new lower health. I guess these changes give Sombra a bit more of an offensive edge when she's going for a flank or something, but at the same time, she does have the lower health, so she'll be easier to take out. Having said that, I think she's going to be even more annoying than before, especially for squishies in the backline who are caught alone. Next up for Sojourn, her railgun primary fire weapon spread is reduced from 2 to 1.6 degrees, critical hits now gain 10 energy, and energy degeneration rate reduced from 33 to 15 per second after 7 seconds. Developer comment, after reducing the maximum damage of the railgun's secondary fire, we're continuing to look at the effectiveness of Sojourn's primary fire. These changes are to make it more accurate and better reward accuracy by increasing the energy gained from headshots. I think Sojourn is finally in a good place right now. She's neither broken nor too weak, and I think this is a good change to give a little bit more reward to those players who have really good aim. Next up, Hanzo, base health reduced from 250 to 225. Developer comment, Hanzo doesn't quite fit the category of being as highly mobile as the other heroes when moving to 225 HP, but like Widowmaker, has the potential long-range lethality merits, as he is now able to one-shot the 225 HP heroes. It's also nice for the Hanzo mirror match to be more decisive as well. My opinion is yes. Next up, Torbjorn, base health reduced from 250 to 225 and base armor increased from 50 to 75. Developer comment, this shift in armor health for Torbjorn is to increase survivability against the heroes which are most affected by armor's damage reduction, such as Tracer. Well, yes. Anyway, that's it for the DPS changes. Now let's talk about supports, which I am personally most excited for. Starting off with our new space baddie, Juno, it looks like she's gotten a number of changes this time around, which I'm personally surprised by because I thought she was pretty well balanced in the playtest. Firstly, Juno is now eligible for competitive play, and her base health is reduced from 250 to 225. Hyper Ring deploy range increased by 3.5 meters and cooldown reduced from 16 to 14 seconds. Pulsar Torpedo's damage and healing impact increased from 75 to 85, heal over time reduced from 60 to 50 health. Orbital Ray beam travel speed increased from 1.9 to 2.25 meters per second, and finally, Medi Blaster burst projectile volley rate of fire reduced from 34 to 28 shots per second. Developer comment, community's feedback on Juno's trial was split between over and underpowered. On the stat side, she performed strongly in almost every category, but particularly overperformed in healing output over the course of a game. These changes are improving her utility while pulling back lightly on healing throughput, since we'd still like her to launch in a strong state as players grow accustomed to her playstyle. There were also quite a few quality of life improvements that are listed elsewhere in the patch notes. That's interesting to me because I saw a lot of players saying that her healing actually felt underwhelming compared to other supports and that they felt like they couldn't keep up with the heals a lot of the times. But I guess similar to Lifeweaver, the healing does stack up over the course of the game, but in moment-to-moment gameplay, I don't think her healing is actually that good, so I'm surprised they actually nerfed it. Next up, Kiriko, base health reduced from 250 to 225, and for Kunai, the critical multiplier is reduced from 2.5 times to 2 times, damage increased from 45 to 60, and recovery time increased from 0.5 to 0.55 seconds. Developer comment, despite the perception of how powerful Kiriko feels to play against, she's a hero that consistently underperforms when it comes to winning games. However, she's a highly evasive hero that makes a lot of sense to be in the 225 health bracket. To help counterbalance the loss of health, we're smoothing out her damage dealing consistency by increasing the Kunai weapon's base damage and removing the enhanced critical multiplier. Ooh, the aimers are not gonna like this change because this basically lowers the skill ceiling on Kiriko by a little bit. I don't even mind that her health is reduced because she has so many tools to keep herself alive, and honestly, her value comes from her Suzu, which it seems like the devs are not willing to hard nerf. I think this change will just make her damage more consistent and she's still gonna be one of the top tier supports. As for Illari, the maximum ammo on her solar rifle is reduced from 16 to 14, and her ultimate Captive Sun projectile environment collision size is reduced from 0.15 to 0 meters. Dev comment, Illari can deal a lot of damage over the course of a game but may have too much ammo given that her projectiles are easier to land hits due to their increased projectile size. We're also removing the extra environment collision size on her Captive Sun projectile so that it doesn't accidentally detonate early when firing at nearby walls and such. There is a similar fix to prevent her secondary fire beam from impacting a wall instead of allies near it. I think Illari has been really strong in the last patch, so I'm glad that they nerfed her a little bit. Is it enough of a nerf or is it too much? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next up, Mercy gets some changes as well. Finally, her base health is reduced from 250 to 225. However, the primary fire healing on Caduceus staff is increased from 55 to 60 health per second, and secondary fire damage boost increased from 25% to 30%. Dev comment, Mercy's Guardian Angel movement enables her to be highly evasive and difficult to engage with for many heroes, but is also one of the most fun parts of her ability kit, so we'd like to keep that strength. So we're moving her to 225 HP and increasing the output of her Caduceus Staff beams. Guys, can you believe it? They finally buffed her. I'm actually shocked that they buffed both her healing and damage boost, because I thought her damage boost was okay the way it was. It was her healing that felt really bad, but hey, I'll take it. I don't think it'll be a crazy difference, especially with the DPS healing reduction passive, but I think it will give her a bit more breathing room to do other things. This might be a bit early to call, but I think this will make Mercy a pretty decent support again, especially with the increase in the damage boost. Next up for Moira, base health again reduced from 250 to 225, but Biotic Grasp secondary fire damage is increased from 60 to 65 damage per second. Dev comment, Moira can be difficult to take down between the low cooldown on her Fade ability and self-healing with the Biotic Orb, so now she has 225 HP and slightly higher damage output to keep an edge to her offensive potential. Again, maybe I'm just used to being slippery, but I actually don't mind the health change, and I think this is a good buff to her damage. I don't know, does this mean we're going to see a resurgence in the amount of DPS Moiras we see in ranked? Anyway, as for Lucio, his base health is reduced from 250 to 225, however his primary fire damage is increased from 18 to 22. Dev comment, Lucio is one of the most mobile heroes and makes his allies faster as well, so we're moving him into the 225 HP hero category. His playstyle tends to get into closer ranges more often than other heroes in this category, so we're turning up his primary fire damage output to increase his effectiveness at range before diving in. Even though I don't play Lucio that much, I do think this is a fair trade-off in terms of damage and survivability, so I'm okay with this change. Last but definitely not least, the Lifeweaver, my twunk king. Okay, pedal platform. Duration only counts down while the platform is raised. Platform now resets if no one is standing on it for 2 seconds. Duration increased from 10 to 12 seconds and health reduced from 400 to 300. Healing Blossom healing progress can now charge passively at a reduced rate, no longer reduces movement speed when holding a full charge. Rejuvenating Dash. Healing reduced from 60 to 45. Dev comment, the pedal platform was too easy to waste if a player accidentally ran over it without intending to make use of it. Now it resets back to the ground if no one is standing on it. We're also reducing its health so that it's more reasonable counterplay to destroy the platform. Healing Blossom will now passively charge at a slower rate to enable players to swap between weapons without the fear of falling too far behind when swapping back to healing. You know what? I think these are really good changes for him. I think pedal platform will definitely be useful in more situations now, but the enemy can still counterplay it by destroying it. But more importantly, they're trying to make his healing feel better. Thank God. I never understood why they made it a thing that your movement speed was reduced when you're healing with Lifeweaver, but I'm glad that they removed that. And also, you can passively charge his healing now when you're doing damage, so that's a plus. I still think he needs a rework with his weapon switch, but I think this is a great change and will definitely make him feel less clunky to play. Well, that's it for the Season 12 hero balance changes. Overall, I'm pretty happy with them. I'm glad that the devs are addressing some of the more highly overtuned mobile characters and giving much needed changes to some of the support heroes. I was expecting a few more tank changes, but I guess that wasn't their priority this patch, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Quick shout out and thank you again to the sponsor of this video, Erazer. Make sure to check out their line of amazing gaming laptops in the link in the description. And as always, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and happy Season 12, everyone.